starting now.
Good morning. This is a public meeting of the Indiana Arts Commission, Region 3 Arts Project Support Grant Panel number 1. I am Nancy Stewart, and I'm delighted to be here this morning. I am a volunteer from Fort Wayne, Indiana, and have served on the Public Art Commission as a commissioner and also as chair. And I will be facilitating this panel today. Today is Thursday, April 22nd, 2021, and we are meeting online and streaming live for applicants and the public to observe. There is no contact between the panel and the audience about the disposition of applicants before, during, or after our panel meeting. This meeting will be recorded and made available upon request. At this time, I will individually invite each of the panelists and staff to introduce themselves, stating their name, occupation, and where they're from in our state. Let's start with Melinda.
Good morning, I'm Melinda Haynes. I'm the CEO of the Literacy Alliance, and I am here in Fort Wayne.
Thank you. Stephanie?
Good morning, I'm Stephanie Carlson, and I am the Gear Up Coordinator of Learning Partners and Programs for Fort Wayne Community Schools, and I'm also here in Fort Wayne.
Welcome. Leslie?
Good morning, I'm Leslie Beauchamp. I'm an adjunct professor at the University of St. Francis. I serve on the board of directors for Arena Dinner Theater, and I'm an independent contractor for voiceover directing, acting, and choreography. And I too, I'm here in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Thank you. Maddie?
Hi, my name is Maddie Miller. I'm a visual artist and digital marketing strategist in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Justin?
Hello, good morning. My name is Justin McAfee. I'm the Director of Education and Community Liaison for the Neurodiagnostic Institute in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Thank you, Justin. Kathy?
Hi, I'm Kathy Raudebush. I'm an attorney and nonprofit board trainer, and I'm in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Welcome, Kathy. I want to thank all of you panelists as we now move on to the Indiana Arts Commission staff. Deanna.
Hello, I'm Deanna Polsma, the Grants Research and IT Manager at the IAC, and I'm in Indianapolis.
Thank you, Ben.
Hello, I'm Benjamin Thomas, the Indiana Arts Commission intern and technical support for this panel.
And thank you for being here. Hope we don't need you too much. And then to move along to our Region 3 Regional Arts Partner, Heather.
Hi there, I'm Heather Clausen. I'm the Director of Grants and Programs for Arts United of Greater Fort Wayne, and I am also the Regional Art Partner Representative for Region 3.
And thank you, Heather, for everything you've done to make this panel possible. I will, now we'll begin the review process, and this is how that process will work. I will announce the application. We will review and ask the first reader to begin the discussion. The first reader will provide their assessment of the application based upon the evaluation criteria and their perspective. Panelists, please note that the applications do not need to be recapped since everyone has read them. Just provide your comments. After the first reader is finished, I will ask the second reader to present any new, additional, or opposing comments. We are not looking for consensus, just a full evaluation from the different perspectives panelists bring to the table. After the second reader is finished, I will open the discussion for final comments. Remember, in the interest of time, we are only looking for new, additional, or opposing viewpoints. Finally, once the application has been reviewed by the full panel, We ask the panel to update their scores in the online system. It is common for scores to change as a result of this broader discussion. These scores save automatically. Now, are there any questions? All right, then let's begin with the Allen County Fort Wayne Historical Society History Center. Our first reader is Melinda.
Well, I always enjoy reading through this application. This has been a long-term project that they have been able to continue to improve and adapt over time. And I find that very valuable. I also find valuable their mix of history and arts and crafts with the Miami culture. I think it's a great embodiment of the History Center's mission statement. And I also was very glad to see that they could make it happen in 2020 during the pandemic. And I also think that it's important that they keep developing this project in conjunction with the Miami community. That's a very important part of the idea process, and they have been able to do that over many years and keep that relationship going. I was interested to read that they have added the lift to the porch to get people into the first floor structure. I know that could be really difficult to retrofit a historic structure like that, but I was glad to see that they could make that happen, and that's a great thing. And I think the most important thing is that they have continued to maintain those connections with the Miami artisans. They really work with that group to decide what to have in this event, in this program that stretches over many months, and that was also a wonderful thing to keep this project going. I would have liked to see a little more detail in the budget, especially differentiating between the paid artist fees and the in-kind artist fees. But I'm glad that they are paying these artists for their time, and it's great that they're all Indiana artists, and we're keeping this going.
Thank you, Melinda. Our second reader is Kathy. Something new, different.
In addition to what Melinda said, I think I would add that I felt under IDEA, I thought that the tools and methodology for ensuring and measuring the impact were very detailed, and they seemed very targeted at ensuring that future Miami Heritage Days would benefit from input and continue that evolutionary process that the project has had over the past few years. And then finally, I thought that the timeline and the descriptions for the project were very, very well thought out.
Thank you. Now I will open it up to the entire panel for any other additional comments. All right, are you ready then to give us a thumbs up and finalize those scores? I think everybody's done it, Kathy. Everybody ready? All right, we'll move on then to Arch, and our first reader is Stephanie.
Hi, I want to just say that I really, really enjoyed reading this application. I think it's very relevant. I think the goal of this application would be to elevate Edwin Gibson and his story, being a Fort Wayne native, and to just really kind of go over the heritage of his architectural design and how it's very relevant right now with everything that's happening in society. So I appreciated that. I just really appreciated reading over the application. I wanted to thank them for providing the websites to discover more about the acquired artists so that we could see how it worked. They talked about who they would be employing through the arts on the artistic side, which would be great. And I think the people that they are, like Ellie and the different artists that they are going to work with, are very relevant and also will uphold their mission. as well. A couple of things that I really thought were really great ideas. I love the collectible poster idea that they decided to do. One of the things that is very relevant in Fort Wayne right now are these collectible posters, and I think I'm kind of excited myself about obtaining one of those posters, because I'm starting to collect things around Fort Wayne, and I just think it's very relevant. It's very now. The application identified interest within Fort Wayne and met that interest and met that need within the community. And I thought that was really great. The collaborating partners they seemed very relevant and qualified, and I thought the budget was also well thought out. I love that they didn't overextend the budget. They just stuck to what would be needed. They felt like the artists were compensated. I felt like it was well thought out and well addressed, for lack of a better term. I really enjoyed it. I think this is going to be a neat project. I'm excited to learn about it myself, and I'm excited for them as they venture into doing this project.
Thank you, Stephanie. Justin, anything different to add to that?
Yeah, I would just add to that, the nature of the project seems very unique. The fact that the benefit to an Indiana artist could be posthumous in nature is, I think, super cool. And as far as the idea of principles, as it aims to correct the artistic architectural history of Fort Wayne, I think it could benefit not only the Hoosiers living here now, today, but future generations of Hoosiers as well. So I think that's a very, very promising project in that regard.
Thank you. Now to the environment. Does anybody have anything to add? Are you ready to finalize your scores? Thumb up, thumb up, thumb up. Thumb up. We're all ready to move on. Oh, there you go, Kathy. Thank you. Okay, we'll move along now to Bishop Dwenger High School, and our first reader is Leslie.
Thank you. As with everybody, I'm so excited to see that programs are moving forward after the last year that we have had. I think that was refreshing. It's one of the wonderful things about reading this is that everybody is looking at having a real intent at moving forward in this next year. And I felt that this is an ongoing project. I was particularly impressed with the fact that it was well defined. They used all of the past experiences that they have had going forward, and they used that to articulate what they were going to do moving forward. And I found that was particularly refreshing to see that. It was really clearly expressed that they are being intentional to provide audiences an enjoyable and meaningful experience. I really thought that was well articulated. With regard to the community engagement efforts, I thought it was noteworthy that this group is using a variety of both qualitative and quantitative efforts, and they're garnering responses for the project's impact immediately, so that they can not only use this information to change things as they're moving through it, they're also using that feedback to infer what they will do going forward. And I thought that was very, very well articulated. I was particularly impressed with their efforts to diversify participation and what specifics they are doing to reach out into those underserved communities. I thought that was very, very well articulated in here. Regarding their project management, I thought it was very evident that they have a really, really experienced staff that they're tasking to carry out this project, that have a lot of experience from past years. And I thought they used that experience effectively to create a detailed and really well-considered timeline. It was very, very clear they had used all of their experiences and knew exactly how that timeline needed to be measured out. And I thought the budget reflected and responded to those previous projects. I was really impressed with how detailed the entire project was presented.
Terrific. Thank you, Leslie. And our second reader, Melinda.
This project is terrific. I love that they are really targeting the low income and at-risk kids with there with the portion of the grant. I like the detail in that. And, you know, especially targeting these kids, I feel it can be life-changing for them. So I was glad to see that was a part of this grant. And an interesting note, you know, they say that 0 artists are benefiting from these grant funds, but I just have to say, I would make an argument that every student they help is a budding artist. And I think that would be important to note somehow.
Does anybody have any other additional comments? All right, and then once again, let's finalize those scores, please. Thumb up, thumb up, thumb up, thumb up. Okay, the Children's Choir of Huntington County. Maddie.
Yeah, I would like to commend the choir for serving its participants and community after each season. And you can really see that they're implementing changes into their program to better serve their mission, their participants, and the community as a whole with by reducing the number of overall concerts, allowing their students to better prepare and increase the quality of their program. So they have a clear strategy for increasing equity and access within their program, offering a lot of variety of payment options and scholarships to help those with financial hardships and allow them to participate. They also have a great partnership with Pathfinder Services, engaging those with disabilities in their programming. And really allowing a wide, diverse group of ages and abilities to participate in a choral ensemble. So really excellent. They're really engaging with their board and committees that are outside members of the community to make sure that they are really showcasing a diverse audience to make those decisions on behalf of their organization. And I really commend them as well on the changes to their audition process to better reflect each individual's growth in their choral career rather than reflecting their age group as they had in the past. So the only comment that I would recommend, they noted the overlapping nature of their budget, but that made it a little bit confusing to understand how the project itself was going to be itemized. So it was just would be easier to evaluate their budget if they actually would condense that into a project specific budget for this. So that's all my comments.
Thank you, Maddie. And Stephanie as a follow-up.
I actually don't have anything to add. I thought Maddie summed that up pretty well. So I have nothing else to add.
I want to say terrific, but thank you. Anybody else have any other additional comments?
Yeah, perhaps I definitely understand the nature of some of these integrated budgets and programming, and sometimes it's hard to tease that apart. Maybe in the future, if we could break down the director roles into maybe hours, estimated hours worked on a project. So even if the budget for whatever reason can't be teased apart, if we could just have an hourly breakdown of how many hours the directors are working on these projects, it could also help kind of illuminate your budget.
Thank you, Jim. Are we ready to finalize those scores? All right, then we will move on to the Fort Wayne Artists Guild and Justin.
Wonderful, thank you, thank you, thank you. So wonderful job of mixing venues, to expand the reach and the impact of the event. So I think that their goal of 75 artists is considerably higher than what they had in 2020, but as we all know, 2020 was a very different year. So I think their expansion of their social media reach that they're trying to do is really going to help them to get to that goal of 75 contributing artists. I think that I love the practice of plein air in and around the community. I think by its very nature is kind of there to increase the access to our underrepresented communities and the dialogue and the engagement that the public can have by walking by a plein air painter can open up those individuals to new lines of thoughts, perspective, artistic curiosity. So I think the barriers are so low as it's not happening on a stage separated from, the artist from the audience, or done in a studio where the public doesn't have access to the artistic process. So I think that's a really cool project as far as the ideas go. I think that having the artists go into traditionally underrepresented neighborhoods is also a cool strength and what they're doing this year. I would maybe give the advice that don't make sure not to lose that audience if you're trying to gain a new audience of traditionally underrepresented people through this event, that going forward, as they start finding you on social media, that you start to build in their voices and their the needs of that audience, just so you don't lose the ground that you made through the project. Team looks very strong. They've been leading it for years. I don't really have any issue with that. You did mention, or they did mention in their application, their Instagram account a couple of times. So I think that's a great medium as far as the visual art component to it. I'd love to see a little bit more broken down onto how you'll spend on social media advertising. If I had a bit more information, I think I'd be able to advise on a strategy, as the social media is becoming such a wonderful tool for the arts community if used properly. But obviously it's not just one big thing. So multiple various sites with their own strengths and weaknesses. You had mentioned the Instagram account, but I didn't find it listed in the links. So I wasn't able to take a look at it, but the website looks great. I think that you're doing a lot of great information and posting with Facebook. So I don't think you'll have trouble getting the word out. But I would have liked to have seen the Instagram account that you guys have created specifically in this initiative for this project. I also like seeing that the follow-up meeting is 2 weeks out. It's a great amount of time, so things don't get too fuzzy as far as the positive constructive feedback, but it gives you enough breathing room to really fully evaluate the event itself. So, great job.
Thank you, Jen. And Leslie, do you have anything to add to that?
I do. I agree with everything Justin said. That was great. The one thing that I just was really excited to see was the intentional financial benefit that this budget has directed towards Indiana artists. A great deal of the budget is going directly to the artists, and I think that should always be pointed out, and that was a great thing that they did.
Thank you. Are there additional comments? Okay, are we ready to score it? All right, thank you. Growing Grabill Main Street, Kathy.
I found this project to be, the application to be very well researched and well developed. There was a very thorough process that was undertaken to ensure that the artists selected would benefit from the compensation for the art created, as well as from additional exposure of the art both to local residents and to the backyard tourists. In addition to that, I thought the process revealed a strong effort to ensure a real quality and meaningful artistic experience for those who are going to be viewing the public art, and the engaging of a consultant with extensive prior public art projects I thought was very wise and will ensure the success of the project. I took a look at the artists' materials that were provided in the links and found them to be wonderful, and it sounds like the artist selected is very well suited for the project given both his talent and his relationship with Grabill. In looking at IDEA, the project has a lot of strong and deep community input in all the stages of development. The one thing I would have appreciated would be a bit of a stronger articulation about the measurement of the project's impact beyond just monitoring social media and community meetings. A couple of the things that struck me there were that some folks in that community are not going to have access perhaps to social media, and community meetings may still be somewhat of a barrier to some folks right now just due to COVID. So I would have appreciated maybe a little bit more definition on that. I thought the staff under project management staff has extensive experience in public art and specifically murals. And similarly, I thought the budget was reasonable and showed a really strong capacity to complete the project within its timeline. I found the timeline very well defined too. So I found this to be a very, very well crafted application.
Thank you, Kathy. Maddie.
I just want to add, I would just like to see more consideration of IDEA within their project. So I know there's some accessibility improvements that are planned for the downtown area, but think about how you can engage the community actively within this project. So that could be an artist talk, a student visit with the artist. Just think about how you can get people involved within the project to have an active IDEA engagement with your community, and maybe serve some of those more underserved community members. So that's all my comments.
Are there additional comments? Opposing points of view? All right. We'll mark those, finalize those scores, please. Terrific. We will move on to the Indiana Center for Middle East Peace, and Melinda's our first reader here. You're on mute, Melinda. Thank you.
Yep. I've been actively involved in bringing international groups to Fort Wayne. So I know how hard this is. I really appreciated reading this application. I am glad to see that other groups are doing this as well. Ronnie Malley seems very accessible and engaging from the video samples that were shown. I think bringing him to the Fort Wayne area is a gift to this community. And I especially appreciate the inclusion of the workshops for children. I think that is a really wonderful benefit. It's not just a performance, but it's education as well. Measuring impact is very difficult with these types of programs. I would like to see, some more thought given to it creatively to see how it truly can be measured differently. If there could be more detail given on the evaluation and survey portions of their application. And I understand those things may be in process. Are the conversations that they have, are they just conversations? Are they paper surveys? Are they electronic surveys? Just think that through a little bit more so that you can truly get the feedback that you need to bring the right programs here. And this application, it strikes me that it's almost like the opposite when we're talking about the underserved, because this is bringing a program to our area that wouldn't be here without a group like this bringing it to our area. And so in a lot of ways, it's the community of Fort Wayne that's underserved with these types of programs. And so I really commend their efforts to make this happen. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Melinda. I'm trying to find some other words. Thank you, gracias, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, Justin is our second reader.
I think that pretty much covered it. And yeah, I think that pretty much covered it.
Well, thank you, Justin.
Yeah.
I think it's great when you all can sift that out. Looks like we're ready to finalize those scores. Terrific. The Lafontaine Arts Council. Leslie.
Yes, I enjoyed reading about this project, this application. One of the things that stood out to me was I enjoyed seeing their specific intentional outreach into the schools with a variety of art forms. I thought that was really wonderful that they were offering a great deal of art experience into their schools. And I thought they had a very well-defined and clear purpose for the project going forward. They were using their past experiences to fine tune. They were using things that weren't necessarily working as well as they wanted, and they changed that over to make it better going forward. And I really liked the fact that they were that in tune with their feedback, that they were actually taking the feedback, being thoughtful about it, and seeing where they could go forward with that. Again, I thought their budget was very carefully considered. I thought that the financial support was being used towards those Indiana artists, which I was very pleased to see that. I thought it was particularly noteworthy regarding their community engagement efforts that they intentionally increased collaboration to broaden the input for developing and planning purposes. They went out and made sure that they were bringing in even more different voices. And I really enjoyed seeing that they were being really intentional about that, not just relying on what they had always done. They were going out and making changes. And I thought it was very clear that attention was being paid to provide those tools to measure the project's impact for instruction as well as participation. And I enjoyed that they were looking not just on the audience side, but also on the who was actually participating in that. And there was a varied and inclusive representation of projects that they hope to serve in their social media links. I thought their social media did a really good job of indicating that. They have a really impressive and experienced staff ready to go forward and execute the project, which is always really great when those students get to benefit from those experiences. And I also thought their budget was well considered. And again, they used the past experiences to make sure that this project will be well executed. So I really enjoyed reading that. I thought it was a great application to read through. It was very measured and very well thought out overall. Very, very well done.
Thank you, Leslie. Stephanie, do you have anything to add?
I actually do have something to add this time. One of the things I love about this project is how much attention they are putting on arts education within the schools. Those who know me know that I have a huge passion about arts integration and integrating curriculum into what is done in the schools. And this organization, I feel like, really does that well. I love that they are focusing on language arts. They are focusing on core curriculum for these kids, and they are using the arts as a medium or as a tool to teach core curriculum, which is something I'm incredibly passionate about. And I'm very thankful that they are constantly, year after year, finding different ways to reach these kids on a different level. I mean, we all know kids learn in a multitude of different ways. So you're either oral, you're visual, but they are really thinking outside of the box in the way to approach these kids. And I think that it's a well thought out application, but I just really want to thank this organization for continuing to focus on education as a tool in the arts. I mean, arts as a tool in education. Sorry, it's early still in my brain, but yes, proud of them.
Thank you, Stephanie. Now, does anybody else have anything that they would like to add, comment on? All right, then let's finalize those scores again. Okay, we will move on to the Cedarville Foundation, and Justin's our first reader.
Wonderful. So the first collaborative public art project within Leo Cedarville, I think that the proposed artist is very notable, and I think could bring a lot to this project, could be very substantive, and could really do a great job kind of driving a lot of that the backyard tourism that we've been hearing a lot about. I think Professor Parsley's work shown in the attachments is great and is obviously of the scale that you would want for a project like this. I'd be curious as to the selection process of the artists and what kind of idea engagement strategies may have been used in this process. So moving forward with future projects, as Leo Cedarville kind of continues on that path to bring more art into their community, would just be maybe they have a project on the table right now that's highly visible, large scale, for only one artist. So I'd just like to get a better idea just to make sure that, you know, that we're all doing a great job with that. I see that they did consult with their community on what they wanted and need for public art engagement. I'd also like to know what kind of input the community has on the direction of the artist. I see that in the creative brief survey listed in March of 2021, but I'd be excited to know what survey was available for the public to give their input. However, I love the idea of surveying the community after the project to gauge the satisfaction. I'd be interested to see what kind of outcomes could come from a survey of that nature. I think future projects could benefit from the testimonials and data collected from a post-survey of the mural art, though you just want to probably be careful on how you roll out such a survey, as just to ensure the quality and the data from the communities you actually care about. Social media can be a place where opinions can be shared in kind of unproductive ways. But the talent pool for this project seems perfect for carrying out this thing successfully. I love seeing so much experience and competence in the people that you've gathered for your first collaborative public art project. It's very cool. I think the budget is pretty straightforward, but it fits kind of within the nature of the project. So I don't really see any issue with its simplicity.
And thank you, Justin. Kathy?
Justin well covered everything. I don't have any additional comments.
Oh, it looks like Nancy, you were frozen there for a moment.
I was?
Yes. Can you hear us now?
Yes?
All right. We can hear you now.
Okay, sorry about that.
No worries.
It's in the air. Has everybody finalized their scores? Terrific. We'll move on to the Miami County Artisan Gallery and Stephanie.
So I would first of all I always want to kind of say thank you to these organizations for putting these things out there. And obviously arts education, as I stated before, is important to me. So always a big fan of arts education. The one thing I would like to say first off with this application is I think there are so many great ideas within this application, but and right in the beginning, I think it would be nice as a panelist to kind of have a clearer overview of the goal. I think that it is stated that they're having weekend art education seminars, which I think are so necessary, but I would love to know a little bit about what these art education seminars focus on. We know about the artists that they have referenced and what they do, and those artists were they explained about the artists, but what is actually being taught at these seminars, I think I would love to have a little bit more detail as to what's happening. It's very clear as to what the funds will be used for. They're going to be used for presenters and coordinators and fees and videotape production. And I love that they are actually using video as a way to provide additional access to people who could actually view these videos, because especially within the pandemic, it's kind of hard to bring a lot of people together. So I do appreciate that video is a medium that they're using. I would have also loved to know more about the artistic survey findings that are referenced here, maybe some quotes from participants or community members demonstrating that the project can advance arts education and how, and awareness and advocacy and application. You referenced that you were going to offer those surveys, but maybe some of the findings, because this is the second year of this program, and I'm guessing obviously that within this program, the first year kind of had COVID involved in it. So I think we're still trying to figure some things out, but I would love to know a little bit more of if you're having those conversations, what the findings would be. It would also, when you reference the artists and talk about them as a panelist, it's nice to know a lot about the artists, but when you reference schools and schooling and different people who have influenced the artists, it would be nice to have a little bit more explanation as to what that looks like. Because when I see abbreviations for a school, I may not actually know as a panelist what that school is or how that school has influenced, and maybe who these great influencers are and what their mediums are within the arts to be able to kind of give us a little bit more information about that. All of my Facebook links to reference the art didn't always work. So there was a couple of them of mine that I would have loved to have seen more, because I was able to get I think there's an advertisement that was included, and I was able to see that. So I had a small picture, which was really awesome, because I finally got to see the art that was being discussed, but a little bit more maybe description within the application in case some of those links don't work. So more about the credentials. Why are they great? What do their strengths add to the overall scope of your project? Why did you decide to use these artists? And I think that would also help to more of the original to state the goal. What is it that you are actually trying to have a lot of the people who are experiencing your project learn? I love the compensation of the artist, though. I feel like that was very thought out. I feel like the way that you are allowing them to sell their art and obviously compensate them at the same time and become more relevant and have the community members learn about them, I thought that was very thought out and well. I love that you're also bringing the videos to the correctional facility. I think that is providing great access. I think that is something that, especially because obviously it stated that they are not able to have these artistic classes with COVID. So the fact that you're providing those videos I just think it's a great idea. And I think it's a great opportunity for those who have less access. So I appreciate all of the thought that was put into this application. I just think a little bit more detail as a panelist would be helpful. And that's my basic overall consensus, but I just want to say good job, because I think the idea is great.
Thank you. Melinda, do you have anything new or different to add to Stephanie's comments?
I would agree with everything she said. I thought it was very thoughtful, and I think it's important that this can happen in a small community. In particular, it's a lot of work that they're putting in to make that happen.
Are there additional comments from the panel? Then if we could finalize our scores, please. Perfect. All right. The North Adams Arts Council, Maddie.
So I just want to commend the organization for their continued growth and success with this project, and adjusting the program every year to just continue that success and growth. However, I would like to hear more about the specific methods that they're using to identify what those successes and challenges are with the artists and the community. So I would just have them consider more of how will 2019 inform 2021, since 2020 was a little different for everyone. So just think back to that and think how you can create more methods to capture that impact on the community. I really enjoy that they have those docent-led tours to make sure that the community can be engaged, but also individuals with disability can have more access to the project. Those were stated to be offered upon request. So because of that, I would just say, make sure you are offering those programs and marketing that very thoroughly, just making sure that that is inclusive and people know that that is an option and that is available to them. That's just a really great program idea. Just make sure it's laid out. Well, sorry, that was I would just say to take some more active steps to engage the community. They noted some student groups on a number of occasions, but didn't really state how those students would be engaging with the project or what specifically they would be doing other than just walking by the murals. So just more details on that. Are the artists involved in those talks and tours and things like that? How are they engaging with this project? I would just, again, going back to that measuring impact, see if you can maybe have a survey to also survey those artists that are involved with the project and attendees after completion to continue to measure that impact and improve the project year over year. They have an excellent committee of community stakeholders and artists that clearly have a long-term commitment to the project and are continuing to have involvement, which is excellent. And With the budget, the only thing I noted was that I would like to know more about what those other grants and missed income were in their itemized budget, just to know what that is specifically, to know, are those grants attainable? You know, how are those involved with the project? So those are all my comments.
Thank you, Maddie. Justin, do you have anything as second reader to add?
Commending them, you know, the nature of it being indoor and outdoor, not everybody works a 9 to 5, you know, to be able to make it to certain events at certain times. So the ability for people to appreciate that art really going, you know, stretching out over just that period of time, and it being outdoors, definitely increases the access to the event, which I would commend. Also, I loved in their application addressing the access of language barriers in the community. They have a large Amish community, and English is a second language. So putting through the kind of the visual nature of the project seems super powerful and kind of overcomes a lot of those barriers. So I love that, and I wanted to commend them for that piece.
Thank you. Are there any additional comments? All right, then let's finalize those scores too. All right. The North Manchester Civic Symphony Society, pardon me, Kathy.
I found that this is for the guest residency program. I thought the purpose was very well defined and demonstrated a strong commitment to providing the audiences, and that would be students, concert attendees, and community members, with an impactful and a quality artistic experience. And I like the goal of providing access to artistic works and performances by female and non-white artists and composers. I thought, while the application does not indicate a benefit to Indiana artists, and I know they have not identified the artists for 2022 yet. Past artists in residence were not Indiana-based artists, but I found it relevant that Indiana artists will be performing with these guest residency artists. So I felt that there are Indiana artists benefiting from at least the exposure and the attendance to this event in that manner. I thought the overarching program and its structure were very well articulated. I did think that there was a distinct deficit of information regarding IDEA in this application. Details on collaboration and outreach, both in the selection of those guest artists and in the audience development for the events, I thought would have been wonderful to learn a little bit more about. Similarly, I thought articulation of some specific strategies for ensuring that underserved communities would have information about the events and access to performances would have been helpful for me. The county, I know, and the surrounding counties are rural and near rural, but the community does support an orchestra. So I would have enjoyed maybe an identification of some direct benefits to specific underserved communities within the geographic area of the orchestra, maybe as well as some tools and methods being identified for measuring its impact on those communities. I did think that the project planning and processes were very thorough and very well defined. And I thought the staff and the budget of the project were very well developed in the application and gave us every assurance that the project would be on time and on budget.
Thank you. Leslie, as our second reader.
I agree with everything that was previously stated. I would have liked to have seen, considering as much experience as they have in rehearsal processes and reaching out to the different areas that they were going to be inviting people to see these performances in, I did think that they could have provided just a little bit more detail in the rehearsal structure and the way that the implementation of this was going to be put through. Even if it was just a usual experience on like a rehearsal process is usually this long, just to add a little bit more information on that timeline on there. But I enjoyed reading this, and I'm excited that they are looking to bring women and people of color into a more rural area.
Thank you, Leslie. Now, do any of the rest of you have something to add to that? Okay, then let's finalize those scores, please. Thumbs up. Perfect. Okay, the Arc of Northeast Indiana, Easter Seals Arc of Northeast, all right. Melinda, I'll let you tackle that one since I sort of messed it up. Not intentionally.
Well, I think this is a terrific project. I very much enjoyed reading the application. I think it is, truly the embodiment of the mission of the organization and also reaching underserved audiences. I think that the ARC and other organizations who work with people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, they learned early on about the value of arts enriching everyone's lives, especially with their own constituencies. And I think that Easter Seals Arc could teach a masterclass to arts organizations about how strategies, how to implement strategies and how to measure engagement and idea with their constituencies. It's just very, very strong. It's a very well-managed project. It's totally an arts education program for this this constituency. The instructors that they've selected are great and experienced, and there's a great amount of detail on the project, on the budget, and it made it very clear to me.
Thank you, Maddie.
No additional comments. Great project.
Are there any other additional comments? All right, go for it. That's otherwise score it. Okay, thank you. The Bach Colloquium. Stephanie.
Sorry, I was pulling it up. I was scoring and pulling and all of the things. So Bach Collegium, what I have to say, I really enjoyed this application as a performer myself because I love the mission of the Bach Collegium. I really enjoyed that Bach is a acquired taste for a lot of people, and it's incredible. And I think that their mission to continue to educate our community on the composer and everything Bach it's a long-running organization, and I think they are constantly listening and constantly bringing this to our community, and I think it's an asset to our community, and I'm so thankful that it has been around for as many years as it has been around. My overall thought within this application is it seems like they have referenced within this application that last year, having the COVID be an issue with singing, they didn't have the ability to gain as much feedback last year, but they have plenty of years prior to be able to obtain that. I would love to see more about what they are thinking about doing if for some reason COVID stops them in their tracks again this year. They reference working with the guidelines of the University of Colorado with the singing guidelines. And as a singer myself, I'm very aware that there are stipulations on singing and singing in a group and lots of those different things. And so there was just not a lot of detail given within the organization of how things might change with COVID in the picture. Will they be singing in mass? Will there not be singing in mass? What's going to happen with the community? It said that they referenced a lot of their community were seniors that were that benefited from these concerts and attended these concerts. So within the senior community within COVID, I'm just curious as to how they are addressing getting those seniors there and still actually serving those seniors in the capacity that they have in the previous years, knowing that there may be a little bit of, I don't want to say fear, but just apprehension as to coming into doing that. So I love that it looks like they recorded last year a DVD, and I would love to know if they were planning on doing that again this year. Are there more virtual things that they're offering in addition to, because this application seems to state that it seems like business as usual, like they are doing basically the same thing that they were going to do last year. So I just wanted to kind of overly say that within this application. Other than that, I feel like their budget is well thought out. I feel like they constantly contract artists that bring more Bach education within the community, because they have a 40-person choir that they normally work with. But in order to educate their members as well as the audience, they bring in guest artists that are very, very well versed in Bach choral solos, instruments, and different aspects of that. And I love that they constantly bring that out. And they expose the artists within our community to some masters of their craft within that organization. They did reference that the executive director, they're looking for a new executive director. And I know that's been kind of something that they've been looking at. It looks like they started this process almost a year ago. So I'm looking forward to seeing who they decide to choose, because I really hope that this organization keeps growing and keeps listening like they have been for many years. But I would like to see more of what would be different and how they're changing and what they're going. But other than that, I thought it was a very, very well and thought out application. And I really, really appreciate the mission of this organization.
Thank you, Stephanie. Kathy?
I agree with all of Stephanie's comments. I would just, in addition to that, just say I would have appreciated a bit of a strategy being articulated to address increasing access and maybe further diversifying audiences and participants. And I was also impressed by, in their budget, that the data shows 50 to 60% of their cash income is from individual donations, which shows obviously a broad-based support.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to add, comment on? All right, let's finalize those scores, please. Terrific, and shall we have a drum roll? To be honest, and our first reader here is Maddie.
So this project clearly engages students on the topics that matter most to them, and giving them an incredible platform to tell stories of themselves and their fellow students in their community. I think it's a really great community collaboration with PBS. And I'm really happy to see that they conduct interviews with all stakeholders involved, the students, the teachers, and with PBS, who's airing the program. They are clearly filling a gap within the educational system and providing students with an opportunity that they would not otherwise have access to. And again, it was just a great detailed budget, and that's all the comments that I have.
Thank you very much, Maddie. Leslie, anything to add?
I agree with everything Maddie said. I just want to add that I really enjoyed the empowerment plank of their main statement and how that was pulled through the entire project, that the students were really driving the narrative of what this project was going to come out and be. And I'm really looking forward to that, to seeing that. And again, I enjoyed reading all of this, how, especially after 2020, how they're really reaching into the students' lives to facilitate them having art. And one other thing, I was particularly impressed with their efforts to expand inclusivity and using all of the tools that kids these days, it's second nature to them, all of the electronics, but they were using all of those things that the kids have right at their fingertips and teaching them how to use that as an expressive tool. I was really impressed with that.
Thank you. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to add? And for one final time, I'll have you finalize those scores, please. And thank you very much. And this certainly concludes the Region 3 Arts Project Support Grant Panel number 1. I think we're all